Sounds like getting ready for a boxing match. The Thriller in Manila. Reference that mic. So I have to say,
Okay, it's spinning. So I'm came down to Grants Pass. I'm in a real estate office, so I'd have better internet, but I don't know why this is, it's kind of hanging. Facebook is hanging. So Dorothy, I don't know if you can go onto our page and just let people know that it's hanging. And so we're going to proceed, but hopefully it will come up. I mean, I don't know what else to do, except I can't do anything. It's the internet. Are you with me on that, Dorothy?
Yeah. Oh.
All right. So let's start with our 2-minute introductions. I have a basket here. And so we're going to do this very old school, very random. I'm going to pull names out of the basket. Okay. 2 minutes. Okay. And if we have our timer ready, it's going to be Dan Mancuso.
Hello, my name is Daniel J. Mancuso. I'm running for Josephine County Commissioner position 2. I'm a little proud of this, but I became a grandfather yesterday for the first time. My daughter and her husband had a little baby girl, so I'm pretty stoked about that. I invested in Josephine County 10 years ago when I purchased the Illinois Valley News. I run it today with my wife, Laura. We also own the Upper Rogue Independent in Eagle Point, Oregon. We're very active in our community, and it's because we care about it. And I think that people, if you have a true love for where you live, you actually want to take part in it. And I think that is one of the main reasons that prompted me to run, is that for years, I've covered the county for 10 years. I have either attended in person, watched on TV, or listened to the audio recordings, at least 2 meetings a week for 10 years. That's 1,000 meetings. I don't just show up at a meeting to speak in the comments from citizens and then leave. I stay to the end. So I have a very good grasp of what the county commissioners have been doing for the last 10 years. Like I say, I've seen their success. I've seen their failures. As a news professional, I have a very sound understanding of what the issues are for all Josephinians. I think for the most part, our issues are the same. May vary a little bit from who you are, but I hope to actually really focus on some things. Prudent management of county resources, prioritize public safety and sheriff funding, champion economic development for living wage jobs, effective solutions to address housing, and improve broadband internet. Was I out of time?
You are now.
Okay. Great, thank you. Next, Nathan.
Hello, my name is Nathan Seable, and I'm running for county commissioner because I want to have an influence in the county. I really don't need a job. I'm very blessed right now. I know a lot of people are out of jobs, and I'm very blessed and grateful that I have a job with the state of Oregon, a good job. So I have nothing to lose but the race. I'll still be managing the state parks in the Southern Oregon region at the end of this thing, regardless what happens. But obviously right now, the biggest thing on everybody's minds is the COVID-19 and the damage it's doing to the economy and any loved ones that they may have lost because of it, and the concerns about becoming ill. But I'm glad we're talking about wildfire, because within a few months, we're going to be thinking about wildfire quite a bit too. Wildfire season doesn't stop for anything. It doesn't stop for a virus. And so it is a big issue, and it always will be, especially in Southern Oregon, which is the hot spot of the state. I've had 15 years hands-on management of complex operations for the state of Oregon. That's involved the management of public lands, for forestry management, for recreation opportunities for the public, and wildfire protection. and environmental restoration. For 5 years, I managed the South Fork inmate work camp. You may have heard of that. It's a 200-bed inmate work camp, and their crews have been all over Southern Oregon and Josephine County fighting wildfire for the state. I've managed agricultural operations. I have an associate's degree in beef production,
10.
bachelor in agriculture, and a master from Oregon State University. I'm a pragmatic conservative, and I don't shy away from complex problems. And, I do my best to solve them for Josephine County.
Thank you. Mark,
Yes. Hello, everybody. This is Mark Seligman. I'm running for Josephine County Commissioner, position 2. I'm a 25-year resident of Josephine County, lived in the same properties for 25 years. I'm a college graduate with a BA in sociology from the City University of New York. I have a 2-year degree from Queensborough Community College in New York in business administration. I have for 40 years, I've been a landscape maintenance professional. For the last 10 or 15 years, I've run for county commissioner. I'm a political activist. I've been to many, many meetings where I've testified in front of the county commissioners. I know how to think and reason. I'm a working guy. I don't own a newspaper. I'm not a county commissioner. I'm employed by myself. I'm out there with the public. I'm your kind of guy. I'm the kind of guy, if we're not working, we're suffering. I'm looking for a better future for all. My whole goal is to benefit individuals and businesses, not government. My big concern right now is COVID-19. I'm the one that's pushing a tax holiday because I think if we don't do that, we're in for some deep problems in Josephine County. I'm controversial. I'm passionate because I love where I live. This is not business as usual. Anybody that talks like it's business as usual is not fit to serve
30.
for county commissioner. This is Mark Seligman. If you want to know more about me, Mark Seligman 2020 on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I'm up, right? I'm Ron Smith, running for Josephine County Commissioner, position number 2. I was born here in Josephine County. My family homesteaded here well over 100 years ago. My kids are here, my grandkids are here. I want to help improve the quality of life for people in Josephine County. There's a lot of issues we can focus on. I think the main thing to bring the biggest benefit to the people and the taxpayers of Josephine County, I would focus on 3 main areas. One of them is law enforcement. The other is housing, the homeless, and jobs. I think we have to look at all of those areas as main issues confronting us. And you could throw in wildfires there too, because we escaped last year. Hope we're this lucky this year, but forest policy hasn't changed. Anyway, I want to focus on law enforcement funding. We have a levy coming up. I think the #1 duty for government is to create a public safety atmosphere so we have a safe community to thrive, work in, and raise our children in. So law enforcement's #1, is priority. #2, housing. We have a terrible housing shortage here in the county. We're 4,000 housing units short, primarily because we built mostly single-family homes. We haven't built apartment complexes or multifamily housing, which by state law will all have to happen inside Grants Pass and Dade Junction. So then we have quite a problem with our homeless people here. We have about 900, 1,000. But that's a multifaceted thing. I think a 3-prong approach to that issue is the best way to go. One, you need to have your drug and alcohol treatment program. You have to have law enforcement, and you're going to have more housing. They all go together. I think I would throw in their mental health, because I think a large percentage of people have an addiction and a mental health problem when it comes to the homeless. And jobs, we need to streamline the process. We need to make Josephine County a friendly place to invest your money, to start a business, to settle down and have a home. So that's Ron Smith. Is that my time?
Yep.
Ron Smith, Josephine County Commissioner. Thank you.
Timekeeper, I'm going to ask you just to say 30 seconds and 10 seconds, because I'm not sure that the candidates can hear you when you're saying 30 and 10. All right, Commissioner DeYoung, you're up for your introduction.
My name is Dan DeYoung. I'm running for re-election into position number 2 for the Board of County Commissioners. I was born right here in Grants Pass. I went to Grants Pass High School and graduated in 1967, joined the U.S. Navy, spent 4 years aboard 2 different ships, was honorably discharged in 1972. While I was in the military, I married my high school sweetheart, Pam, and we have 2 children and 6 grandchildren. We've been married over 50 years. When we got out of the military, we moved right back to Grants Pass because this has always been my home. And so we've lived here ever since. I worked as a service manager for a large local heating and air conditioning company, and I started my own business in 1981. We've been in the construction side of it, and you look at 1981 was a downturn, but we took a chance and we stepped out there, and we had that business for 41 years and then sold it to one of our employees just recently. So why do I want to be a county commissioner? First off, I really enjoy this job. I looked into it a little bit. I didn't know all that I knew about being a county commissioner. I had some experience on the Grants Pass City Council for 7 years prior to this, then ran for county commissioner and was successful the second time around. Learned a lot the first campaign and came back second time and won it. But I really do enjoy the job now that I've been here for 3.5 years. I think probably the most rewarding part of the job is the people that I work with. One of the key points
30
of this,
seconds.
job is leadership and how your employees view you and how you treat your employees. And I'm just really grateful that I work with a fantastic team throughout the whole county and get an opportunity to work with them. And one of the things I do when they
10 seconds.
say that they've got a problem, I want to know how they're going to fix it. I want their ideas, and so I'm happy to be here.
Time.
Unmute. All right. Thank you, everybody. We're going to start now with our questions. Question is, what kind of community service activities do you currently engage in now, or have you engaged in the recent past? And we're going to start with Nathan.
Community service.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I've done a number of things through my church organization, where I've led. In fact, last summer I led a youth camp for young men to mentor young men, and I was the activities director for that. Currently, of course, now we're not attending church in mass like we have been, but I have young boys from the ages of 8 to 12.
30 seconds.
That I mentor as a part of program. I've been involved in all kinds of public service. One, I was the chair of the Public Safety Advisory Commission in the city of Forest Grove, and I worked on levies and also fire districts there, safety levies, and counseled the city council
10 seconds.
and also the mayor of the city of Forest Grove. I've been involved in other committees and commissions as well to deal with natural resource issues.
That's time.
Economics. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mancuso.
So the question is, what community?
Yeah, what kind of community service activities are you currently engaged in now, or have you engaged in the recent past?
Well, right now, and every summer and winter, I'm a huge supporter of youth athletics. I sponsor a BMX team, equestrian team, softball, baseball, boys and girls club team events. I actually have filled in. I used to be a state high school soccer referee and also a FIFA grade 7 referee. So I filled in for the local soccer club here and refereeing games for those children. I'm a member of Eclampus Life. We're an historical society, and I co-created a scholarship for children who aren't good students that need money to go to tech school or some sort of trade school. For up to $4,000 a year. We pay for that. I assist my wife with CJ Homeless Alliance. I mean, I don't know. I could talk about this for an
10
hour.
seconds.
Boys and Girls Club, I was the auctioneer for the Taste of the Illinois Valley last year to help support the Rogue Valley Boys and Girls Clubs.
Thank you, Dan. Commissioner DeYoung.
Yes, for the whole number of years I was in the Grass Pass Active Club. I was way back when I was in the Oregon Cavemen, a real organization that promoted Josephine County in the Oregon Caves. Then I went over to the Grass Pass Active Club and served, I'm going to guess probably 35 years there. I was president for 1 year, and then, of course, the Active Club puts on all the Boatnik, the parade, all the way through to the boat races on Monday. I was the voice of Boatnik for a whole bunch of years, doing all the announcing down in the park. While I was
30
doing that, I
seconds.
was still trying to run a business at the same time, and my secretary told me, don't ever do that again. But I've also been involved. A friend of mine and I started Iron Horse Enterprises Incorporated, and we ran motorcycle hill climbs, both in Roseburg up in Douglas County and up at the top of Merlin Hill. Got a lot of really young kids that come up and compete. Gave them something to do on
10
the
seconds.
blow off steam. Recently, I'm the current president of Southern Oregon Car Club Council. I'm involved in cars and the Back to the 50s celebration. And you also probably hear me down there this year. I'm also the emceeing for that particular event. Very rewarding.
Thank you, Commissioner DeYoung. Mark Seligman.
Well, let's see. Recently, I donated. I went to Fred Meyer and bought a bunch of food and fed the homeless on the streets of Grants Pass. I am a landscaper for 40 years, and for periods of time, I've hired people who were out of work, living at the Gospel Rescue Mission, so they could have some money in their pocket. I have been to many county commissioner meetings, advocating for the homeless, advocating
30
for
seconds.
seniors, advocating for those that are having a hard time.
You have more time.
I have more time. Well, like you said, that's what I've done. I've advocated for youth to stay in school and tried to do the best I
10
can
seconds.
to point out that this is a tough survival situation in Josephine County, and they have to really apply themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, Ron Smith.
Well, I've been involved in Josephine County for a lot of years. I was a nominated Citizen of the Year by the Illinois Valley Cave Junction Chamber of Commerce for my activities in the community. I've served as the overseer or vice chair of the Fruitdale Grange for over 7 years, involved in the Grange operations at the county level. Also a member of the Redwood Lions Club, and I did spend some time in the Kiwanis
30
Club.
seconds.
I've held meetings throughout our county to bring issues to light that were important for Josephine County. A lot of them revolving around land use and forest issues and just property rights. So I've been serving the community in a lot of different ways. I've been working on the people side of government for over
10
20
seconds.
years, defending our property rights, our liberties, and our freedom. And I want to continue as your commissioner to do the same.
Beautiful.
Very good. Thank you, Ron. All right, next question. Every year, thousands of tourists come to the Merlin area to enjoy the Rogue River, and yet we have very few amenities for them to enjoy in this area. I'll put my video on so you can see me. These tourists bring outside money to our area, which would greatly help our local economy. Some locals say they don't want the crowds, yet the rafting tourists are already here, so why not get them to stay a few days and spend their money here to help our businesses financially? What would be your vision for community and economic development for this area? Okay. And we'll start with Commissioner DeYoung.
You know, tourism is, you know, we always say that, you know, the timber industry's gone and tourism needs to be the next economic driver. We're sitting in one of the most beautiful places in all of Oregon. Within one tank full of gas, you can send them to Crater Lake, Oregon Caves. There's snow skiing at Mount Ashland. you're on your way to the coast. You're one of the main lines to the coast. If you like to fish, you can fish in the creeks, the rivers, the streams, the lakes, and even the ocean. If you're a hunter, there's all kinds of wild game to hunt
30
around here.
seconds.
But we live right down in one of the most beautiful places. And plus, we have the 3 rivers running right through our county, which are a huge asset. I think that we have a tough time marketing that because there is so much doing here. One of the things that's really suffered here of late is the fishing industry along the Rogue River. And we're
10
working on that
seconds.
now in conjunction with Curry County, and we hope to bring Jackson on board to see if we can get something going up there at that fish hatchery, put more fish in the river. Because fish, there's an equation that each fish, salmon in the river equates to so many dollars in tourism. And we're losing that here because the fish hatchery is in dire need of repair up at Lost Creek. So
Time.
there's a lot of things that we can do with that, and I think we're going to move forward on it.
Thank you, Commissioner DeYoung. Okay, Mr. Mancuso.
I feel like you're picking on me. As far as,
I'll stop calling you Mr.
please. So the jewels, I like to refer to that. When the Athey brothers started the Illinois Valley News, they called it the Valley of Riches because of its resources, the minerals, the timber, the rivers. It was just a gorgeous place. And now I feel that our gems are the people, which actually makes us rich. But we have the Illinois and the Rogue River. We have, I believe, the world's only marble cave. We have one of the
30 seconds.
We have one of the 7th wonders of the world and 8th wonders of the world in Crater Lake. It is just, we live in paradise. And I would like to see some sort of green belt that's put on Highway 46, 199 and Galease Road, where we take economic
10
development
seconds.
dollars and help people who can't, like we did up in Wolf Creek here recently, but let's protect the roads in and out of our gems, which is the reason people come here for. And if we can give people a good face when they come through, they're more than willing to come back and maybe tell their friends how amazing this place is that we call home.
Perfect. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Nathan.
Thank you. Obviously, right now, we're going to have a major focus on helping the businesses that are being hurt from this COVID-19 shutdown thing. However, looking to the future, I think it was the senator who made the comment in the morning forum that we were on for the Chamber of Commerce, was that we didn't have room to grow as far as the land for large industrial development, that sort of thing. And that may be true, but we have lots of room to grow with tourism. There is no lid on tourism.
30 seconds.
That's something that I do for a living. I've managed RV resorts, lodging, campgrounds, trail networks. We have a huge opportunity right now with the Dollar Mountain Trail system. That's a mixture of county, city, and BLM lands. That should not
10
become
seconds.
like another Cathedral Hills. That needs to be an attraction that brings people. My vision, think of Sisters, Oregon. Merlin, there's no reason we can't help Merlin to become like Sisters, Oregon, the gateway to some of the best river and hiking and camping that you can get in Southern Oregon. Merlin, Sisters, Oregon. We can make it look like that with the right decisions. That's my vision for Josephine County.
Right. Thank you, Nathan. Mark Seligman. Wait a minute.
We have to get a grasp of this COVID-19 crisis and how it's affecting business. Once we finally get through that, first of all, we cannot elect candidates that want sales taxes. The incumbent wants a sales tax for tourists. That would kill tourism. The second thing is the cannabis industry. We need to make Lama County in California. This is cannabis country. We need to boost the industries that make this place available to people. But
30
first and
seconds.
foremost, the COVID crisis must be addressed. It cannot be business as usual until it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And then that leaves Ron Smith.
Thank you. Southern Oregon truly is a beautiful place. I've lived here most of my life. We have the beautiful mountains, the rivers, the valleys and the oceans right there, Crater Lakes right there. But tourism is a seasonal business and it's part of our economy. It's important. Hopefully this COVID epidemic will be behind us by the time tourism season starts. But then we're confronted with the wildfire situation that has devastated our tourism system 2 out of the last 3 years.
30
We got
seconds.
lucky last year. So I think it's important that we build some amenities, maybe some better resorts, but that's not government's job. Government's job is to get out of the way and let free enterprise create those things. So regulation reduction, streamlining the process for permitting, those things are going to help tourism. I think
10 seconds.
maintaining a business-friendly attitude is going to help bring other tourist-based industries here. But we have to open the doors. We have to roll out the red carpet and make it inviting for investors to put their money into Josephine County.
Thank you, Ron. All right, next question, gentlemen. What ideas do you have to address climate change at the county level? Do you see an opportunity to attract green-related businesses? And we're going to start with Nathan on this.
If I can unmute myself, okay. I think the honest truth is that no matter what Josephine County does for climate change, it is less than a drop in the bucket to deal with worldwide climate issues that are going on. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be practicing good land ethic and teaching good land ethic. We should. We should be sustainably harvesting. We should be managing our forested areas and our agricultural areas to
seconds.
also accommodate wildlife, be good wildlife corridors. And we should be teaching and encouraging all citizens to have a good land ethic. We have a beautiful place here. It is
10 seconds.
a gem that helps us to our economy survive and thrive, and we need to keep it that way and treat the land respectfully.
Thank you, Nathan. Dan Mancuso.
Got it. It's funny. Oregon, this is like the last place in the world that we really need to be having this conversation. I mean, Oregon is leaps and bounds ahead. It's because we're a very large, rural, ag-based economy, and we don't have the type of problems that a larger, more metropolitan area or an area that has a lot of manufacturing. That said, just because it's not a problem for me doesn't mean that I could ignore it. Right now we're in the middle. The county's looking at signing off on a trillium mining deal on county land, which is what they use to make solar panels out of. And somebody recently made a joke how we don't make solar panels here in America, but we do have the minerals right here in Josephine County. And solar is cheap. You can get grants for it. It's going to save everybody money. Every county building should have one. And I think that'd be a good start.
Great. Thank you, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Ron Smith.
Well, at a county level, I think with the China building 137,000 coal-fired plants, Japan's building 30, I don't think we're going to have a real big impact. The biggest impact a commissioner could take is to lobby for better forest policy. The biscuit fire probably dumped more carbon monoxide and noxious fumes in the air than we did in 100 years, the whole state of Oregon. So if you really want to help climate change, you're going to have to reduce wildfires. Did you know a dead, rotting tree pollutes just about as much as a burning tree? It's dumping out methane, propane, all kinds of bad stuff when it stands there and rots. We need to manage our forest better if you really want to help climate change at the county level. That's the big issue, really.
All right, thank you, Ron Smith. Mark Seligman.
Climate change, I somehow agree with Ron Smith. What we go through here in the summer definitely isn't beneficial for the climate. People being smoked out, you got to breathe this stuff. But I do feel that the possibility of the climate industry with solar, the solar industry can bring a lot of jobs here to Josephine County. Whatever we can do to improve the weather regarding smoke, climate change, minimize it
30
by
seconds.
alternative energy, I'm all for that. So there's a direct relationship between climate change and forest fires, and that's what I would work on as county commissioner.
Mhm.
Very good. Thank you, Mark. Okay, and then Dan DeYoung.
Yeah, we could talk solar panels, and of course, everybody knows about solar panels and putting them on county buildings and whatnot. But I think that probably the number one thing is fire suppression. When you burn up, first off, the trees are what sucks up carbon dioxide and gives us oxygen that we need. And when we burn 196,000 acres of trees, that's hard to replace. That carbon footprint is huge, and it goes on for year after year after year, not to count the animals that perish in those fires. We talked about the tellurium. That is
30
coming before the
seconds.
board. It hasn't been decided by the board, and it's exploration on county land for a number of different minerals. So that's still in the works. But I think that one of the main things we've got here is right now, we have already met and exceeded our 2025 reduction in greenhouse gases
10
in
seconds.
Middle Rogue MPO, which is right here in Josephine County.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner DeYoung. All right, next question. Multi-million-dollar corporations with hundreds of employees require leadership that have executive level experience and relevant formal education. Cities and counties typically have an executive level administrator who, to be qualified, must have at least a 4-year degree in government, public administration, political science, or a related field, and a minimum of 7 years progressive experience in government, public administration, or management. Highly desirable experience includes government finance and budgeting, human resources and labor relations, community and economic development, project management, and other executive level management experience. Would you support Josephine County having an executive level administrator? And could you please describe your education and relevant work experience for that role? And we're going to start with Mark Seligman.
I have a degree in business administration. I have a degree in sociology. I've managed my landscape business for 40 years. If you're talking about a county manager, paid position, I'd be totally opposed to that because that's another level of bureaucracy. Jackson County has that. They are hired by the county commissioners, and they're untouchable. So I would be opposed to that. The county should be managed
30
by the
seconds.
commissioners and people who've had previous business experience. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark. Nathan.
Thank you. I think the Board of County Commissioners, the folks on the board need to have that executive experience. In 15 years of working for the state, that means I have been managing budgets for the state, public money and personnel. I managed one operation where I single-handedly was responsible for a $5 million budget and 200 people. And so I have that experience. I have to say, when I was the Public Safety Advisory Commission chair in the city of Forest Grove, they had a
30
manager
seconds.
there. There were some benefits to having a manager, but one of the problems with the manager is sometimes if they're at odds with the city council or the Board of Commissioners in this case, that can be a problem. It is another layer of bureaucracy. There are some benefits to it, but I'd rather see that experience in the hands of the commissioners running the county as they do.
It's time.
Thank you, Nathan. Ron Smith.
I wouldn't be in favor of another management position at the county level. You have all your department heads. The commissioners really are basically decision makers. They're top executive, top legislators in the county. But you have your department heads that you rely on. They're the expertise there, and that's what you hire them for. What you do is you make the hard decisions. What you are as an elected official is a representative of the people. You can never forget that. If you forget that you're elected by the people, for the people, to do the people's will, then you
30
just become
seconds.
a government employee. And that's a problem. As far as the budget goes, that's a big project taken on by many people. And you just have to be a wise person and take care in your decision making. But the commissioner is more important than education is ethics. And more important than
10
college
seconds.
is knowledge. I'd place my knowledge and my ethics up against anybody. I'm fit for the job to be your commissioner.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Ron. Dan DeYoung.
Well, this has been something that's been bannered around for quite a while. I feel as though that a county administrator has its worth in some cases and some it doesn't. I think the fact that commissioners are elected officials probably carries more weight with the people, because you try to fire some of the county managers and you're leaving it up to 3 people to fire them, where this way the whole county can fire you, and by electing you out.
30
So,
seconds.
as far as county manager goes, I think first off, I don't have a formal education, but I've sure got a whole school of life that I've lived through and ended up here. Budget wise, we surround ourselves with really, really strong, forward-thinking department heads, and our finance director, Arthur O'Hare,
10
he'll
seconds.
walk anybody through a budget. So I think it's the people you surround yourself with as an elected official.
Very good. Thank you, Dan. Dan Mancuso.
I don't have, I've got a lot of formal education, but I haven't, I've bounced around the community college circuit most of my life. I found that I have been blessed that I've been able to work my way into positions of leadership, that people that I've worked with and worked for have seen the value in moving me up. I used to have a software consulting company in Chicago that I sold to a publicly traded firm, and I managed the Chicago branch for that.
30
So I
seconds.
would say having the SEC level of scrutiny for budgets, I think I've proven that. I've managed at one time 13 papers in 3 states. So as far as managing people and managing budgets, I have that experience. The fact that I've been able to keep
10
my businesses
seconds.
alive in this time period, I think, is a testament. But as far as I don't know if I would be for a manager, because they need to be accountable and electable. And I think that all of us are in agreement that if I were to fire someone with a golden parachute,
That's time.
am I going to outlast? Is it going to cost more than it's worth?
Right, very good. Thank you, Dan Mancuso. All right, next question. What would your top 3 priorities as a new county commissioner be? Ron Smith.
Yes, I already stated my priorities will be to bring the biggest benefit to the people and taxpayers of Josephine County will be first and foremost law enforcement. Seeking out long-term funding solutions for law enforcement that doesn't mean taxing the people. I really support the sheriff's effort to reduce the crime and dangerous drugs in our county. The other area would be housing. We're severely short of houses. We just simply need more houses. We need more houses that are reasonably priced. With state law, most of those are going to be built in Grants Pass or in
30
Cape
seconds.
City. So I would advocate for that. And then the homeless have got to be addressed, especially with what's going on with this COVID epidemic. I think we might be looking at a lot more homeless people, unfortunately. The economic downturn is going to hurt many, many people. I feel sorry for those that have got the virus, but I hear the survival rate's high.
10
So
seconds.
the economic depression is a scary thing. I think most small businesses have suffered pretty hard. I don't know how they're going to get out of it. So we're going to have to streamline the process, make it easier for these businesses to stay in business and help those businesses survive.
Thank you, Ron. Dan DeYoung.
Well, as a new commissioner, I'll go back 3.5 years. When I started into this job, I was asked, what is your priority? And my priority is public perception of county government. There's for a long time, if you put anything in planning or building and safety, you got the runaround. It's all you did was get the runaround back and forth and back and forth. We're trying to consolidate a lot of our offices that are spread all over the county. We're going to bring them into the law enforcement wing right next door now that the Grants Pass Police Department is vacated.
30
That'll make
seconds.
it easier for one-stop shopping. Just the fact that we're trying to instill a can-do attitude. So rather than when somebody comes in with an issue, let's figure out how they can get their job done like they want it to, rather than dig through the books all day long to try to find out why they can't do it.
10 seconds.
There's some things we can do that we have supposed to do it, but should we do it? That's one of the things. I think if we can get the trust of the people, the rest of the things, pretty much everything falls in line.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Nathan?
Thank you. I think like a lot of us, my priorities have changed with this COVID-19. Number one is going to be restoring these lost jobs and protecting the businesses that are hurting right now. That's number one. But in a normal situation, what I would tell you is that my top three priorities, besides protecting these businesses, are public safety and maintaining the livability of the county. I will work to champion
30
the
seconds.
renewal of that levy and to support the deputies, the sheriff, and other public safety departments. Attracting new business, thinking outside the box. That is my other priority. And of course, the homeless issue, 900 resident
seconds.
homeless, the highest per capita in the state of Oregon. Something creative needs to be done about that. It's a complex problem people have shied away from. I'm going to make it one of my priorities. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Nathan. All right. Dan Mancuso.
It's going to come as a big shock to these guys, but my number one thing is going to improve broadband internet infrastructure. I can't harp on that enough. It is archaic. It's almost caveman-ish how unreliable and limited access people have in Josephine County to broadband internet. What broadband internet does, it feeds into the other things, my other causes, which would be champion economic development for living wage jobs. If we had a strong internet presence,
30 seconds.
you could actually have people here telecommuting and actually taking their wages that they're earning in New York City or where have you, and spending those wages here in Josephine County. All that goes along with law enforcement. If you do not fully fund the sheriff's department, you're never going to see growth
10
and
seconds.
prosperity in Josephine County. People have to feel safe. They have to want to come here.
Very good. Thank you, Dan. Mark Seligman.
My number one priority is the current virus. And I would fund county government with SRS payments, which happened in the past, and federal money that Josephine County should fight for. I am totally opposed to any new taxes. In fact, I propose a tax holiday for all commercial and private property owners. We have a homelessness issue. We will have more homelessness. You can't have people pay taxes if they have no
30
jobs.
seconds.
Eventually, hope we can have some prosperity here, and transparency and trust, which is clearly not what's happening with the health department with inflated figures of 4,000 people infected. So that's what I would do, a tax holiday, which will help every citizen who owns property in Josephine County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. All right, next question. The law enforcement levy passed in 2017 expires in 2022. As county commissioner, would you support it and why? Let's start with Dan DeYoung.
Well, of course, I support it. I worked real hard to get the first one going through, and when the sheriff came to us, myself and the other two commissioners, we referred it to the voter on the ballot. We had less than almost 4 months to get this thing passed. We didn't have any money. We didn't have a budget. We didn't have any program. But the sheriff and I went to the citizens with the truth. I'll absolutely support it if it comes up with the same amount. I will not support putting more money to it. There's been a couple of comments made about, I think there's an
30
appetite
seconds.
for the people to owe another 50 cents for 24/7 patrol. I disagree with that. I think there are other ways that we can bring that up to snuff. there's the sheriff has been just fantastic as far as his going and getting grants from the state level, and he's a great guy. Basically I'm his liaison, but I kind of
10
stay out of his
seconds.
way because it's he can really get stuff done because he's a real motivated guy. But yes, I would support that levy again, but I would like to support it at say 70 cents or 75 cents.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Dan Mancuso.
Yes, I fully support the levy because I'm able to look at the actual numbers. I'm able to look at the outcome of this and to see the success that the sheriff is having with this with the new money he has that's covering the jail, which then he can turn around and take money to expand rural patrols. But we need to have 24/7, and we need to have a detectives division, and that's Sheriff Daniels had told me
30
that that's going to take about $4 million. Like I said, I have a plan. I've got us up to about half of that, a little less than half of that. And I'm going to continue to come up with the rest of the money. The sheriff's office, it's not the sheriff's department, it's called an office because he's a duly elected officer. So the county commissioners have very little to
10
do
seconds.
with the sheriff other than how much money we help him get in his budget. But when we were running to get the levy passed, I used the full power of the Illinois Valley News to promote the positives of this levy. It's paid off, and I'll do it a second time.
Thank you, Dan. Nathan.
Yeah, thank you. 100%, I would support and help champion a renewal of the levy. Taxes are controversial, but they're only controversial when they are being levied on you by the government without your representation and your vote. In this situation where the people get to vote on it, it's very much so a community coming together, trying to solve a problem together. And really not much different than times past when they wanted to do a barn raising or anything else to get a
30
community off the
seconds.
ground. We have to have livability in Josephine County. People have to feel safe. If crime and drugs and other things make it unlivable, it doesn't matter what we talk about for business or anything else, or tourism. It's not going to happen
10
if
seconds.
people don't feel safe. And so 100% I support the sheriff and all other public safety, including emergency response for Josephine County.
Very good. Thank you, Nathan. Mark Seligman.
All of you people listening here to look at the people who are pro-taxed. One guy is incumbent, makes $80,000 a year. The other one owns 2 newspapers. I'm a working guy. I'm like most of the people here. What are you trying to do? Bleed a turnip dry? Can you get money out of people who don't have a job? They can't pay taxes. What are you going to do then? Foreclose them? You want more homeless? The situation is SRS payments and Fed money will get your law enforcement. You cannot ask people, you cannot tax people
30
into,
seconds.
but you certainly can tax people into poverty. And anybody that does that is unfit to be county commissioner. No new taxes, tax holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And Ron Smith.
I'm running as the people's commissioner, so I would listen to the people first. People have to decide what they're willing to pay for services. The county offers different services. The people have to decide at what level and what price tag they want to put on it. Do I support law enforcement? 100%. I support the sheriff in his effort to reduce crime and drugs in our county and enforce the laws. But the people have to decide on taxes. I'm one guy. Will I put a ballot on the measure? No. No, I would let the people do an initiative petition. I mean, it's just like when grants passed one of the
30
fires.
seconds.
Had they done the groundwork, they'd realized they had zero support for that. It went down in flames. So if the people want to be taxed, they can put it on the ballot. It's not hard. Just got to get the signature and take the time. I would support an issue like that 100%. Whatever the people decide, that's what I want to see.
All right. Thank you, Ron. And who's left? That's it, Ron Smith. Next question. All right. Let me put my video on so you can see me. From your point of view, is the largest, ripest area for improvement with county policymaking? Do you understand the question?
Could you repeat it one more time, please?
Sure. So what from your point of view is the largest or ripest area for improvement when it comes to county policy making? You know, from your perspective. I mean, obviously Commissioner DeYoung is going to have a different perspective than people that aren't inside, but what is, from your purview, where do you see opportunities for improvement at the county level regarding policy making?
Am I up first?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things that we're trying to, like I said, I mentioned a little bit earlier, we're trying to make sure that things can go smoothly through. If we're talking about building and housing and so on and so forth, we just recently brought back one of the things that was hanging us up and contractors up was we were contracting this with the state to do all of our septic tank approvals and drain field approvals out in the county. We brought that back in-house. And so it takes it from 2 months to get the
30
DEQ
seconds.
down here into being able to do it in-house within 2 to 3 weeks. That'll speed up that whole process. There's just, every time you turn around, we're looking at different ways to do things to try to speed it up and make it, in fact, try to save a little bit of money from time to time. And so I think the county's working very
10
well, but
seconds.
there's always room for improvement.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Nathan.
Yeah, thank you. It certainly is beneficial for anyone who has been working in the county, and they know what the internal workings are. I could probably answer that question more specifically. But I work for the state, and I have for 15 years, and been involved in many complex policy making situations. And I could tell you that policy should be in the least for public comment for a period of time. It should be filtered and run through public
30
boards
seconds.
and commissions, citizen boards and commissions, and those who are the decision makers on the policy should really be open to listening to the public and not just treat those commissions as window dressing. I've been on many of those commissions. I've been very frustrated at times with the way we were
10
treated.
seconds.
And so good policy will run through the people, and it'll be taken seriously. Their input will be taken seriously by the decision makers. Also, you got to have your professionals. Obviously, you got to have reviews by architects, engineers, and also Department of Justice and that sort of thing, legal. So
Okay.
there's a lot goes into making good policy.
Thank you. Dan Mancuso.
Well, if you'd asked this question 6 months ago, I'd have given you a different answer regarding your public records. Having an elected official be in charge of the doorkeeper for the public records request, I think is odd. But as far as policy changes that I would like to see, this isn't really a policy answer, but I really would like to see the county focus more on educating
30
the
seconds.
residents on all of our emergency management plans. We're all very knowledgeable on the 1, 2, 3 go, and I think everybody in our county knows that now. Sadly, unfortunately, we all know that. But I would like to know what the plans are for a Cascadia event.
10
I would
seconds.
like to know what the plan is for future pandemics. I mean, we've done a great job this time, but it'd be nice for everybody to be educated so that we're not all wondering, because lack of knowledge causes fear, and fear makes everything unstable.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Mark Seligman.
My policy would be less county government, less bureaucracy. The more government gets involved, the more they want to tax you. And we must have our private property rights. We must increase business. And the more that we have government interference in these, the more we're hurt. I agree with Dan on the pandemics, although Josephine County has not done well on this pandemics. We have a health officer that has inflated the figure to 4,000. Now we load it to 140. We have to have consistency and the truth, and we're not getting the truth. So again, my
30
policy,
seconds.
less bureaucracy from government. We got a lot of smart people in this county that believe in common sense and don't want government interference as much as it is currently.
Great, thank you, Mark. Ron Smith.
Yeah, I think for a policy change, I think with what's happening with the pandemic and the economic hurt we're going to all feel, there's no way we're going to escape some kind of economic downturn here. I think one of the important areas in the county that could probably be improved is in the planning department, streamlining that permit process for development, lowering the cost. When a developer comes in here and tells the city that he can develop a project in Medford at half the cost he can in Grants Pass, maybe some things need to change at the city level.
30 seconds.
So I think permitting development, creating jobs, because we lost a lot of jobs here. I don't know how many restaurant people and other kind of businesses are out of business, but there's a lot of people lost their jobs here. Are those jobs coming back? I'm not sure. But we need to streamline the process for anybody who wants to create a business in our
10
county
seconds.
and make it a very friendly place for business. Because right now, it's not a real friendly place for business. There's some room for improvement in the planning and in friendliness to business investment in our county.
All right, thank you, Ron. All right, next question. So, let me put my video on so you can see me. So there seems to be a somewhat pervasive mistrust of county government amongst many people in Josephine County. What are you going to do to improve the credibility and trust between the community and the Board of Commissioners? And we're going to start with Ron Smith.
I'm running as the People's Commissioner. I've been working in Josephine County on the people's side of government for over 20 years, defending our property rights, our liberties and our freedom from government overreach and intrusion in our life. I want to continue that as your commissioner. I want to represent the people of the county. I think when you elect me, you're going to get a man of integrity who will honestly listen to and hear your concerns. And I'll have an open door, transparent policy. I think being a representative of the people is the #1 job of any elected person. When you take an oath in office, you're going to defend those
30
people's rights.
seconds.
You better mean it. So I think as your commissioner, I want to just give you the best bang for your buck and the best deal for you to focus on some certain areas: law enforcement, housing, the homeless, and jobs.
Thank you, Ron. Next up is Mark Seligman.
Question, please.
Sure. There seems to be a somewhat pervasive mistrust of county government among many people in Josephine County. What are you going to do, if elected county commissioner, to improve the credibility and trust between the community and the Board of Commissioners?
This is why I show up at county commissioner meetings for years. The county needs to back away from excessive regulations and private property rights invasions, because this is what the citizens don't want. They don't want more restrictions, more regulations. You have to have some. I'm not saying don't have any, but you can't. 9 times or 10 times out of 11, the county voters voted no on taxes.
30 seconds.
Did not care. They put it in again. And the reason this tax levy passed was only less than 40% of the people voted. So you have to respect the public, and they're not doing that. And that's why the citizens don't trust county government. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Dan Mancuso.
We live in the state of Jefferson, and I think that gives you a lot about why people don't trust government. There's a large segment of our population that kind of has what I call the rugged individualists. You know, they want to be left alone. They're libertarian minded, and I think that that has a lot to do with the overall attitude and the lack of trust in government. I've covered 11 county commissioners in 10 years.
30 seconds.
I have to say that while I think I'm going to be better at this job than the incumbent, I have to say that I don't believe they're misleading me. And as maybe it's because of my job, and I know how to ask questions to get answers. But as county commissioner,
10
if the public
seconds.
has a mistrust of the government, I can walk you through the public records request and give you an ironclad request that they have to answer, and you'll get your answers too. So I just think people have to give it a shot and engage a little bit more, and maybe they won't be so distrustful.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Nathan?
Thank you. Well, I think a little bit of healthy mistrust of government is a very positive thing, and it helps drive and keep our elected officials honest. And I believe the founders of the United States, of this constitutional republic, would agree with that. You have to win trust. What I do working for the state is I make sure that everything I do is transparent. I have to make a lot of decisions that make people unhappy, make some people happy, some people unhappy. I stand in front of them when I have to disappoint them. I do not hide. And I listen to
seconds.
them openly, and I'm very transparent. When people call with concerns, no matter how uninformed it may seem, I call them and I treat them with respect and listen and try to do my best to resolve their
10
concerns.
seconds.
A little bit of mistrust is a good thing, philosophically speaking, but we got to earn trust and act in ways that earns the trust of the people.
Very good. Thank you, Nathan. Dan DeYoung?
Well, first off, I think solidarity amongst all three commissioners. We don't agree on everything every time, and sometimes we get into some pretty good debates right there on the dais in front of the public. That we try to hash these things out. Where you're not allowed to by law. There's three commissioners in one office end of the building, but you're really not allowed to talk to each other and form policy and come to a decision or arrive at any decision. That's against the ethics law. So we have to do these things in public.
30 seconds.
One of the things that is quite disturbing is that we see all the time in letters to the editor and whatnot about the closed door deals on property and the closed door deals on employment. Any labor, anything like that you're talking about, employee negotiations and stuff, has to be an
10
executive
seconds.
session. Same thing with property transactions. And they'll tell you anywhere you've got to do that behind closed doors, and then you come out and deliberate. You can't make the decision behind closed doors, but then you bring it out into the light of day, and that's when public comment is invited.
Very good. Thank you, Dan. All right, next question is going to be my question, and it's going to be familiar. I've shared a visual with everybody. Oops, wait a minute. Okay, can you see a map?
Yes.
Thank you. So I just want to frame up this fire district question for everybody. The black outline is the boundary of Josephine County. The small purple area up at the top is Wolf Creek Fire District. The green area is Grants Pass. I don't know if that's hard for you to see. Whoops.
Yeah, it shows up.
Okay, and then over here, these two little purple pieces are Applegate Fire District, and Applegate runs into Jackson County. The blue is Williams Fire District. This peach color or flesh color is Illinois Valley Fire District. And the fire district that we are talking about, that I'm going to ask a question about, involves this yellow area. This is what's called the unprotected territory that is the subject of any current fire district discussions at the county, and it is larger than all 4 other fire districts combined. Okay, so I just wanted folks to have that for reference, because when I ask this question, and I don't expect everybody to be familiar necessarily with it, but when I asked the question, some of what I heard was, yeah, if the people in Merlin want a fire district. It's not the people in Merlin. It's 35,000 people throughout this yellow area, which represents half the county. Okay, so I just wanted to frame that up for everybody. And now I will ask my question. The current slate of commissioners have not committed to putting the matter of forming a rural fire protection district in the unprotected area on the ballot this November. This is in spite of an advisory vote last May that asked if voters wanted the county to begin the process to form a rural fire protection district that passed 65% yes to 35% no. Should fire protection in the unprotected area be determined by a vote of the 35,000 people live there or by 2 county commissioners? That's the first question. Who should make the decision? Second, if you are elected or re-elected county commissioner and a rural fire district is not formed this year, will you support through your action, not through signature drive, but as a commissioner, will you support putting a measure for a rural fire protection district on the ballot in May 2021? Okay, so they're basically yes or no questions, but there's a lot of text to it. And we're gonna start with Mark Seligman.
What I would support is the 35,000 people that would be effective to vote. If you want to make an initiative and you want to put something on the ballot, that's fine. Again, if this new fire district would cost less than what people are paying now, that's one thing. If it would cost more, that's another thing. We'd have to look at that real carefully. As far as fires go, my house burned down, the Illinois Valley Fire
30
District
seconds.
was out there, but it's up to the residents what they want to do. But no, I would not put it on the ballot. I would say the 35,000 people should put it on the ballot. Don't have government do their work for them.
Thank you, Mark. Next is Dan Mancuso.
I want to go to your bathroom. Where is it?
So I'm on the record for saying that I fully support a fire district in the unincorporated areas around the city of Grants Pass. And I think the sole reason, my main motivation for that is I'm not comfortable having private enterprise be responsible for fire safety, especially considering most of that is in the wildland urban interface. I'm not saying those gentlemen don't do a good job, but it's very possible something could impact
30
them
seconds.
financially that would where they could go bankrupt or not be there. The Illinois Valley Fire District does a bang up job. The base tax is $1.87. There's a 50-cent optional tax, and I think there's another 28 cent per thousand
10 seconds.
bond, bringing the whole thing. Bringing the whole thing right around $2.50. So if you have higher property values in that area, in the urban growth boundary, in the area that we're looking at putting a fire district, and I think there'd be more than enough money. But it's up to the citizens; they'll vote it in. But I believe in freedom of speech. You know, put it on the ballot. The people will vote for it if they want, and so I'm down with that.
Thank you, Dan. Nathan.
Thank you. When I was the public safety advisory chair in the city of Forest Grove, Washington County was going through this. This was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. They're just barely now accomplishing it. It's a heavy lift, and you know the reason why, because a lot of people don't want their bills to go up for the same level of service in order to provide those services to the hinterlands of the county. But it can be done. Washington County, there's no reason why we can't learn from
30
other
seconds.
counties that have been through this. Washington County, in the meantime, had mutual aid agreements, nearest resource agreements, where the protection became almost seamless to everybody. And eventually, they were able to make it happen. As the chair of the Public Safety Advisory Commission, I voted in
10
support
seconds.
of that, and it was my recommendation that the city of Forest Grove be involved in that. And then it went to a vote of the people. And I would support that for here. I think those 35,000 people need to vote and have a say on it. I think we cannot leave, if there are areas of our county that's not getting the service they need, that's
Fine.
safety and that's life. And we need to be creative enough to come up with a solution for that.
Thank you, Nathan. Ron Smith.
I fully support the idea. I think it's a little premature to talk about putting it on the ballot measures. Yes, the people did vote to explore the idea of what it would look like. Right now, we have no idea the structure of the fire district. We have no idea about what kind of additional equipment and the cost of that equipment is going to be, or the structures or fire fire buildings we're going to have to build. So right now, I think it's a little premature to say yes or no. I would have to have more details, and I think if you're an elected
30
official,
seconds.
the first thing you want your elected official to do is understand what he's voting on. How many times have we seen elected officials vote without even really understanding what they're talking about or fully understanding the issue? So the idea is a great idea. If it reduces cost to the people, if it lowers their insurance premiums, I'm all for it. But it's
10
really
seconds.
ultimately the people who are going to vote and decide. It's their issue.
Thank you, Ron. Okay. Next question. All right, let me do my video. So,
You want me to answer that?
oh, I'm sorry, Dan. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Yes, please.
Nice job.
Sorry.
I'd let you skip right over me, but I'd like to talk. Anyway, first off, forming a fire district of this magnitude is really the biggest part is informing the public as to what this thing looks like and how it works. I think that there's a lot of questions that are out there right now. We have a fire district committee that's working on it. I don't know. In fact, I would almost recommend not that it doesn't go on November's ballot. I think it really needs some thought. And really, we really need to, if we're going to go to the people, let's get them with something that they can
30
understand
seconds.
fully before they put their X on the yes or no mark. And they know exactly what it's going to cost so that there's no misgivings when they get done. We do have some funding coming through from the state to help with the forming of the fire district, but it can't be used for the preliminary stuff.
10
So the only
seconds.
time that money is available from the state is when the voters, these 35,000 residents and however many voters are in that 35,000 people, when they pass the fire district, then the money will be made available. But until then, it's off limits. So I think we need to, it's information, public information all the way. And yes, if we have to go to May or even the following November, I'd do it.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I want to clarify something on the money that Commissioner DeYoung is talking about. Senator Bartschiger got a line item added to House Bill 5050 in June of last year, $1.5 million. It wasn't even 2 sentences. It's a sentence and a half for the formation of a rural fire protection district in Josephine County. It's very specific. Commissioner Morgan signed a grant agreement in late August of last year, and the money is sitting in the county coffers. Originally, it was my understanding that that fire district money, had to be done by November 2020, which is this November. I still don't know. I haven't gotten an answer if that is what's going to happen beyond that. Under the circumstances, I'm concerned that if we don't get that money and use that money for what it was earmarked for, it could be repurposed by the state under the current pandemic. That's one concern I have. So just to clarify what that money is about. The other thing is any effort, whether it's a citizen-driven effort or an effort that the commissioners put on the ballot, any money spent to establish the fire district are reimbursable by the fire district after it's formed. So there is a way for, if the county ends up having to spend some money or something related to it, it would get that money back if the measure was successful. Is there anything that I said, Commissioner DeYoung, that you believe is not true?
No, I think the key there is it has to be passed by the voter or the whole thing it's all on us.
Great. Very good. Okay. Thank you. Next question. Being a county commissioner, you can't please all the people all the time. Many of us have seen that as citizens. There's often a winner and a loser. That's how it works. How would you handle having to deliver bad news to a group of people on one side of an issue that didn't prevail? And we'll start with Commissioner DeYoung.
Well, that's just comes with the territory. It comes with the job. There are hard decisions to be made here every day. And you can line up 100 people in a room and you can almost split it right down the middle, and half of the people are there championing for something and the other half are there dead set against it. This is a very, very wide range of people in Josephine County, and a lot of them have just moved here, but then there's the old folks that have been here and don't want to change, so it's tough. You got to have nerves of steel.
Seconds.
But I don't know that there is an easy answer. If you don't have the spine for it, don't do it. But I go back to Commissioner Hare when he had to pass out all those termination notices to his own employees. That was a tough decision. That's a tough one. I have had
10
to fire
seconds.
people in my day at my own business. Didn't like it. So, you're if you get this job, it's a day in and day out. You just have to take it case by case.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Ron Smith?
Yeah, that's life. That's the way it is. I mean, you don't always win. Sometimes you lose. You got to be able to tell people with empathy and understanding that the issue didn't go the way they wanted it to. It's part of the job. Not everybody's going to be happy. I mean, government is not there to please us. Hopefully it's there to serve the people. And if it serves the majority of the people on the issue and does the right thing, then that's what it's supposed to do. Really as an elected official, when you start making your decisions, you're supposed to make them based upon the
30
Constitution,
seconds.
and the federal and state laws. So I think what we need to make sure is that when people don't prevail, you're making the right choice. You base it upon good, sound constitutional principles and based on law, and that's the way it is. You don't always win, but you do have to make those decisions. That's what commissioners are, the decision makers.
10 seconds.
They have to make the tough decisions that affect people's lives. And, so you have to be knowledgeable. First of all, you have to be committed to your oath of office that you're going to defend that Constitution no matter what, and make your decisions based upon that Constitution. If the law is against the Constitution, you'll have to make that decision based upon the Constitution, not the law. That's the way it is. You take an oath of office to do it, to represent the people. That's your job.
Thank you, Ron. Nathan?
Thank you. In this kind of work, you will disappoint people. I deal with that on a daily basis, sometimes little issues, sometimes very large issues. And the one thing that helps soften the blow of disappointment is really good communication and trust and integrity. If people feel like you're somebody they can trust and respect, you can stand before them and disappoint them.
30
Or they
seconds.
don't respect you. I always try in my work to not surprise people. I tell them I will disappoint you, but I won't surprise you. So I'm honest with them and communicate often and as needed to make sure that they understand why decisions are
10
being made,
seconds.
and to help them understand way ahead of time so they're not surprised. It's okay to disappoint. It's part of the job, but do not surprise them. And communication is the key, and trust.
Very good. Thank you, Nathan. All right, Mark Seligman.
Telling the truth. People know how I feel on the issues of taxes and cannabis and the homeless and COVID-19. You know how I feel. If you agree with me, you vote for me. If you don't agree, you don't vote for me. You're going to know 2 years from now, issues are going to come up surrounding these things. I'm a less government kind of guy. If you're for less government and less bureaucracy, you're going to vote for me. You're not going to be disappointed. On the other hand, if it doesn't go your way, I'm really sorry, but you'll know my
30
platform
seconds.
time. You must be honest. You must be truthful. That's what my father taught me, and I hope to convey that to the citizens of Josephine County. Thank you very much.
Janet.
I'm sorry, Dan Mancuso, you're up.
My father was a union arbitrator, and I spent my childhood listening to my dad when he was home, when he wasn't on the road dealing with a crisis at a meatpacking plant somewhere. I had to listen to my dad talk on the phone and tell people that the union couldn't get their job back. And these are my friends' dads, our neighbors, many times. It might be small to me. People come to me all the time, and their problems, I think, to me, are small, but they're the world to them.
30
And
seconds.
I think that when you're dealing with someone and you have to give them bad news, I understand, what your feelings are, but the reality of it is there are rules, and we have to play by those. The state dictates a lot of what we
10
can and can't
seconds.
do. But I have people walk in my office every day. They want me to help them because nobody else can help them. But they think the newspaper can do a story and will fix it. Sometimes things just can't be fixed, but you have to be respectful that it is the whole world to them. It means it's important to them, and you have to treat them with that respect, that what's important to them is important, and don't trivialize it.
Well,
Very good. Thank you, Dan. All right. Next question. Second to the last, unless we have some come up more in the chat. What are, in your mind, the top 3 skills for being successful as a county commissioner? So it's three skills. And how would you define success, assuming you are elected, aside from being elected?
I know what I'll say.
And we're going to start with Mark Seligman.
Okay, well, the most important skill as a county commissioner is to be able to think and reason and communicate and listen to the other people's view. And if the other people's view is strong enough, it might just convince you. Now, the goal here should be, when we're through with this COVID-19 crisis, is to do whatever you can do as a county commissioner to have prosperity in Josephine County. And the best way to have that prosperity is to encourage businesses and individuals,
30
and
seconds.
not to encourage government. To me, that would be the proper formula for success in this county. If you just want to have more government and more regulation, you're going to stomp the people's initiatives down, and you're never going to have prosperity. You have to be open-minded,
10
listen
seconds.
to people, and understand this is the future we're talking about for our kids. We want to make it as good as possible. So again, prosperity is the ultimate goal when we're through with COVID-19.
Thank you, Mark. Nathan.
Thank you. I think it's hard to pick only 3, but I think the 3 that I chose, and there's sure many others, one is the ability to build relationships. Everything functions off of relationships. The ability to get things done and work through sticky problems or controversial problems, you can do it if you have good relationships and respect and trust for another. So relationship building is huge. You have to be a problem solver. Problem solving isn't just a nice thing to say.
30
It's actually,
seconds.
there's a method to it, to problem solving, especially in the public square. Getting the right people together and following the formula to solving complex problems. You need to be good at that. Thirdly, I'd say work ethic. You need to be able to work your butt off.
10
Work
seconds.
for the public. They pay you. You need to show them that you're not on the public dole, that you're working for their own good. And success to me is that you have prosperity and safety, and people are living with their families or enjoying their retirements in Josephine County and loving it.
Thank you, Nathan. Ron Smith.
Well, I think the number one trait for anybody to be successful in any walk of life is honesty. You have to be ethical and moral. I mean, why would you elect somebody if you thought he was unethical and not moral? I mean, that'd be crazy. So that's number one. I think we have some of that problem in DC, maybe. But that's the number one trait. And I think you have to be a good listener. I think you need to really listen to people because, you know, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. I think sometimes we spend too much jack in our jaws and not
30
open our
seconds.
ears to the problems of the people. Because if you're going to serve the people, you need to know what their concerns are. So I think ethics, morality, being a good listener, and I think being a good problem solver is an important trait. But I think being a decision maker based on knowledge. So you have to have some knowledge.
10
You
seconds.
can't have wisdom unless you have knowledge. So I think ethics, honesty, and knowledge combined with the willingness to listen to your constituents and to your people to help them solve their problem.
Thank you, Ron. Dan DeYoung.
Well, first off, you have to listen. When people come in your office, you really need to listen. And then I think it's pretty easy to do when you hear their story is to try to put yourself in their shoes and see how you would like to be treated by your government. First off, you can't, people don't like to be intimidated. They're already a little bit nervous. coming in to see the commissioner, but we're just regular folks. We put our pants on just like everybody else. We get dressed and have a cup of coffee in the morning like everybody else. Nothing to be afraid of here. And there's oftentimes we can help.
30 seconds.
The main thing is follow through. If you listen to someone's problems and you can fix it, then get with it. Let's get it finished up. I just finished up a land vacation out on Fish Hatchery Road that's been bouncing around the courthouse and legal and planning and public works for, I guess, 2 to 3 years. And we just wound it up in a couple of weeks.
10
Let's
seconds.
get this thing done. So it's follow through and listen, put yourself in their shoes and then follow through.
Great, thank you, Dan. Dan Mancuso.
I apologize. Can you repeat that question?
Sure, I have to pull it out of my, it had to do with, my pile. Oh no, that's not it. Wait a minute. What in your mind are the top 3 skills for being successful as a county commissioner? And how would you define a success, assuming you're elected, aside from winning the election?
I was going to go with win the election. I think the key to success is to have a strong foundation of knowledge, so that when someone comes to you and they tell you what their problem is, that you actually are able to understand the problem first and foremost. Understand what tools are in your toolbox of how you can try and solve that person's problem. Obviously, listening is key. But I hear a lot of things. A lot of people listen, but are they really hearing me?
30 seconds.
So I think you need to hear what people are saying and be able to understand that to solve that. But I believe that I would like to actually leave a legacy similar to what Governor Stan Hathaway did in Wyoming back in the early 70s, where he created the
10
mineral
seconds.
trust that money can't come out of, that grows in interest, and the state can only use the interest. And there's so much money in that account now that now every child in the state of Wyoming goes to college for free as long as they maintain their grades. So I will consider myself a success if I can somehow figure out a long-term path to funding law enforcement without burdening the taxpayer.
Great, thank you, Dan. All right, last question before we open up the phones. Of course, people that are online can put questions in the chat box to me also, but if you don't like to type, if you type 2 fingers at a time, we'll open up the phone lines. So how do you manage putting the community's best interests of all county residents that you would represent before political interests in this nonpartisan policymaking role of county commissioner? Dan Mancuso, let's start with you.
County commissioner is a management position. Partisan politics has no place in it whatsoever. I can't even think, and I've been trying to come up, because I've been labeled something that I'm not. I've been trying to think of something, how my personal feelings would interfere with a vote that I would take. And, public service is about people and trying to provide the best you can for your community with what you're given. But I honestly cannot think how
30 seconds.
Whether or not I'm right or left leaning, what any of that has to do with actually judging a land use issue, how I'm going to deal with a pandemic or a
10
cascading event
seconds.
or a fire. I just can't fathom where politics come into play at all. And I'm sad for anyone that actually does.
Thank you. Dan DeYoung.
Well, first off, this is a nonpartisan position, and I think it's great that it is nonpartisan, because first off, if you're a partisan, like for instance, you get above this and you get up into the representative side or the Senate side or on up from there, it's either Republican, Democrat, and everybody's got a party that they're beholden to. And they have a tendency to only listen to those people, that side of it, when they go into it. They get, they herd amongst themselves. They only get lobbied from their own people. So
30 seconds.
I think it's really nice that this is nonpartisan. Besides, another thing to think about the county commissioners, there's 131 county commissioners and judges in Oregon. We're the people's really last chance to be able to walk in the office and speak
10
face to
seconds.
face at any given time. Try doing that to a lot of your legislators when they spend the time in Salem or they spend their time in Washington, D.C. It's tough, but here we're still neighbor to neighbor, and I really like it because you get a cross section for the whole county, not just Republican or Democrat or any other political party for that matter.
Great, thank you, Dan. Ron Smith.
You got to remember that as an elected official, it is a nonpartisan. It should be, because you're supposed to be there to serve the people that you get elected, that elect you. So, when you take an office in America, almost everybody swears an oath, and that oath is to uphold the Constitution. The Constitution is a nonpartisan document. It's not left or right. It's what we base our freedoms and our liberties and our rights on. That Bill of Rights should be your decision maker. It should be what you stand up and how you make your decisions to serve the people.
30 seconds.
It has nothing to do with politics. It's all about human rights. It's about the rights of people to live their life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's really what this country was founded upon. So I don't see how you're going to get political with that. A belief system is what's important.
10 seconds.
It's on that person's beliefs. So I strongly believe that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is what I'll be working for, to serve the people of Josephine County. That's why I'm running as the People's Commissioner, to serve the people of Josephine County.
Thank you, Ron. Mark Seligman.
I believe the only thing that should be partisan here is the Constitution. As a county commissioner, you must follow that. But what's interesting is the present 3 county commissioners are all Republicans, yet they do very non-Republican things like increase taxing and increase spending. I'm a libertarian, so we're at loggerheads on that. But basically, as a county commissioner, you have to follow the Constitution, and the Constitution usually means less government.
30
that was
seconds.
the purpose in the first place. So everything's eventually political. People have different sides. We're fooling ourselves if we don't act in a partisan way. Everybody has certain causes and values. They act that way. That's just the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, we have a question from the chat. Let me mute Mark. Okay, Jimmy Evans.
Answer that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nathan. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself again. Go for it.
It's okay. I consider myself a pragmatic conservative. And I am truly grateful that this is a nonpartisan position, because I don't have alliances with political parties.
The conservatives, come on.
I can't imagine what it would be like to work on the federal level or in Salem and not be able to vote your conscience or do the right thing because you're handcuffed by a party's position. I think that would be horrible. I don't have that baggage. I'm not going to bring it here to Josephine County.
30 seconds.
That way of thinking. I'm very pragmatic and I'm very objective, and I will only do the right thing for the citizens. Local government is closer to the citizens than anything else and can have often the biggest effect. And so we have to do the right thing. It's not about ideology.
10 seconds.
It's about doing what's right.
Great. Thank you, Nathan. All right, we have a question from Jimmy Evans. I'm going to unmute him. Okay, Jimmy, you should be unmuted if you want to ask your question.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your service to our county. I have a question on the COVID-19 crisis as far as homelessness and how you feel that we have addressed that situation. In November on November 21st in 2017, Josephine County Commissioners declared a housing emergency. Part of the philosophy behind that was basing that on the justification of 650 known homeless persons. Among those, most of them were unsheltered, as well as homeless children and unsheltered kids was a big percentage of that. In fact, 246 of them at the time. Here in the Illinois Valley, the effect of that 2017 emergency housing declaration had on that vulnerable population had negligible effect on us, if any. Which leads me to my question. On March 20th, the Board of County Commissioners declared yet another emergency in response to this time COVID-19. My understanding of this is that gives the current Board of Commissioners, and if you folks are elected, executive powers to open up the general fund, and within that general fund is a emergency management program that allows it has money available as well as mandates to follow, which would open up us being able to be helped by FEMA, among other things. My question to you, gentlemen, is two. One, how do you think our vulnerable population, as far as the homeless, how have we been during this COVID-19? Have we been effective in addressing their concerns as well as protecting the citizens of our Josephine County? And the second part of that question would involve, would you be willing to use that emergency funding and get FEMA in here to get some services and some needs for those folks so that we can protect them and our community? Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Okay, we're going to start with Dan Mancuso.
You know, I've been actually working on this, and I got word today from Josephine County that, let me back up. One of the biggest issues with the homeless population is that if you come down with the coronavirus and you get the COVID-19 disease, and once you get out of the hospital, if you don't have anywhere to go, you have nowhere to go. The COVID incident management team is applying for opportunities to be reimbursed for sheltering homeless individuals that have tested positive for that. But what they're, and I applaud them for that. But I think in the future, what we need to do is proper leadership at the county level. We need to get involved in get out ahead of this using the Stafford Disaster Relief Assistance Act, where we can actually put in place where you have to get pre-approved by FEMA for those funds. And I think that's something as county commissioner that Mancuso would do.
Thank you, Dan. Mark Seligman.
Well, let's cut right to the chase here. The county government should be able to access the general fund so that FEMA can come in here and help the homeless with at least some sanitary stations. But let's understand something. This is a matter of record. The 3 county commissioners currently were 3 ex-Grants Pass city councilors. There's a lawsuit against the policies of Grants Pass, which criminalize the homeless. You have to look at the track record. These county commissioners have not done much to help the homeless, and in the past, they've actually hurt the homeless. If I was elected county commissioner, I would show a great deal more compassion, and I wouldn't criminalize the homeless, which the present board as city council has done. FEMA should come in here, help the homeless, so that this COVID-19 crisis doesn't affect other people. That's what we should be.
10 seconds.
Thank you, Mark. Ron Smith.
Well, I think the city of Grants Pass has taken some steps, washing stations and showers. I don't know if that's complete circle. Yes, if there's money available for FEMA, I think we should take it. How to handle it for the homeless, I don't know. Governor Newsom of California is going to give hotel rooms to 15,000 homeless people. Let me tell you a little horror story right here in the Illinois Valley. My brother went to the hospital, and while he was gone, his son,
30
who was
seconds.
on meth and heroin, primarily meth, brought a bunch of squatters into his house. Now my brother, as a homeowner, has no rights. He has to file at $200 his cost eviction notices to get those people out of the house. We've contacted the sheriff. There's not anything to do. So these
10
people that
seconds.
are on meth and heroin now have more rights in my brother's house than he does as a homeowner. That's terrible. We need to help the homeless. We got to realize most of them are on drugs or have mental problems. How are you going to get the homeless to social distance? I don't know. Take law out there. It's a tough issue. I think compassion is something we need to have in all of this. But as far as the money from FEMA, yeah, let's take it. How to make it benefit the homeless? I don't know. I'm open for suggestions. I'm listening to the people. I'm going to run as a people's commissioner and listen and really hear what they have to say about these issues. That's where we're going to come up with the best ideas. We're going to put all of our heads together, and we're going to implement those plans that work the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Dan DeYoung.
Yeah, this is a tough one, but you know, we have people really strong people that are involved in the homeless and the warming center stuff. Kelly Wessels, she's with UCAN. She's been doing this for an awful long time. She's very, very good at it. This is right up her alley. She was ready for this. As far as how many homeless people are affected by the COVID pandemic, right now to date, I got the numbers right here. Our total cases in Josephine County out of 87,000 people is 19. We've had 1 death. We have 0 hospitalized at this point in time, and negative tests were 922.
30 seconds.
So, but I think that, you know, we have the warming center over there. I don't know how many people go in there day in and day out. We have the soup kitchen that goes around to various places in Grants Pass every day to feed them. As far as the FEMA goes, I think everybody knows
10
that we're
seconds.
not the only ones that are talking about FEMA. The whole country is tapping FEMA. I don't know how deep their pockets are. We're going to find out, though, aren't we?
Taxpayer money.
Thank you, Dan. All right, and Nathan.
Thank you. First of all, to answer the question, whatever funding is available, yes, take it. The homeless issue is a very complicated one. I've been dealing with the homeless quite a bit. It's one that's near and dear to me that I want to see improvement on. The starting point is that these are human beings and they need to be treated with dignity. That's the starting point. No questions asked. No argument on that at all. The second part is, how do you help them? Well, you have to know the issues at hand. There's a lot that has to
30
be
seconds.
done with mental health and with drug addiction. Housing is one part of it. But if you ask a lot of homeless people, if they're homeless, they say no. Their home is where they are. And so it's not straightforward.
10 seconds.
Complicated, but and there's a lot of good people, as Mr. DeYoung said, in the county working on it, but there has not been a focused effort to bring all those people together and really move the ball down the field. And if I'm elected, that's going to be one of those things. I'm going to grab the football and run for the end zone, because it's a very important one to me, and we need to get on that crisis of these human beings that are suffering out in the elements in many ways, and sometimes very hard to help. But we can be creative and we can do something better than we're doing now.
Thank you, Nathan. Okay, so I am going to unmute everybody. We've had a very well-behaved participant group. Thank you for that. And so I'm going to unmute anybody in case anybody has a phone question.
Oh, no.
All right, I'm not seeing anything. All right. And we are going to move on to our closing statements. All right, so each candidate has 2 minutes to close, and we're going to start with Ron Smith.
Well, thank you for hosting this forum. It's our 3rd one in a row. So now we can have 5 or 6 more. We're all experts at this. So I'm Ron Smith. I'm running for Josephine County Commissioner, position 2. I was born in Josephine County. Been here most of my life. I've been involved in our county in a lot of different ways, helping people and defending our rights. I want to carry on that as a commissioner. I want to serve you as the people's commissioner. Why do I say the people's commissioner? Because I've been working on the people's side of government for over 20 years, defending our rights, our liberty, and our freedom. And I want to continue that. When you elect me, you'll get a man of ethics and morals who will openly serve the people of Josephine County and listen and hear your concerns. I'm not a politician. I'm not a bureaucrat. I'm just like you. I want a responsible, financially responsible government and a transparent government that listens to the people. So, and we want to keep lower taxes here. So I'm not a tax and spend politician. I'm one of the people that believes it's his time to serve the people of Josephine County. I have a tremendous amount of knowledge I gained through the years working in different capacities in the Granges, holding public meetings, and in some opposition protests to larger issues. I've been to DC defending people's rights, the crime of farmers' rights, more than once. I've met the Secretary of Interior. I've worked with many of the state and federal representatives in this state. So I'm well acquainted with government, primarily from the people's side. I'd like to continue that and defend the people of Josephine County as your next commissioner. So if you want to know more about who Ron Smith is, go to voteronsmith.com and you can see a whole bunch of information about me. And I hope to get your vote. I'm well prepared and ready to serve you as your commissioner, the people's commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Nathan.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity. So I'm raising my family. My wife and I are raising our family of 4 kids here in the county. I want the county to be a safe and livable place for all families, retirees, and everybody that lives here, so that they can live here and thrive and enjoy the beautiful place that it is. I want our economy to find ways to keep people here, so that some of our best people would like to stay and actually get jobs and help make the county and this region move forward. I have experience in government, 15 years managing budgets, people, public lands, wildfire protection, environmental restoration. I believe in healthy communities, healthy land, healthy economies, healthy people. I have done political work. I've worked on legislation in Salem as well. I have done some work with Kitzhaber's office on inmate program issue. And so I understand how the politics works and how Salem works. I have background in agriculture, lots of background in tourism management. I want to see the county become the destination of Oregon for people to come to and spend their money here and enjoy the beautiful place that it is. It certainly can be. We need to move forward and get off some old ideas and some old ways to make that happen. I am a pragmatic conservative. I'm a relationship builder. I know how to build a diverse team of people and get the right people together to tackle complex problems. I don't run away from them. And I've done that for 15 years for the state of Oregon. And I believe I will do it for Josephine County. So I appreciate your vote. If you want to learn more about me, you can go to, I don't know the website, but you can go to Facebook and put in Nathan Seable for Josephine County, and you'll get my page and a lot of information on there for you. So I appreciate this opportunity and also your vote.
All right. Thank you, Nathan. Commissioner DeYoung.
Yes, this whole job is a real learning curve, and we've heard talk about going to meetings and, people that go to the WBS, the weekly business session, and attend. Mr. Mancuso, he's shown up to the meetings, and he's absolutely right. He stays all the way through the meetings, and then if he's got questions afterwards, it's a Q&A. You can sit down and talk to commissioners one-on-one and seek more information. Mr. Seligman shows up to almost every meeting, and then as soon as the public comment his input is done, he turns around and walks out of the building. He doesn't have the courtesy to even stick around and listen for an answer to the questions that he poses. But there's a huge learning curve here. When you get to the WBS, there is hours upon hours upon hours of research. There's hours upon hours of conferences with legal, with all of our different departments and department heads and what their policies are and how they're moving forward. It's not just 2.5 hours or an hour and a half on every Wednesday. So there's an awful lot that goes into this job. It's a huge learning curve, and I'm not done learning. I've come a tremendously long way since in the last 3.5 years. And but there's still more to learn. Every day something comes up, and then COVID-19 pops up. Boy, this is a whole new ball game, and it really does. It tests the mettle of our emergency management people. It tests the mettle of our public health officials. They've been working tirelessly and hours upon hours. And if they're done, and last summer, our emergency management people all summer on fires, and the year before that, and the year before that. So it's really gratifying to work for this organization. Just watch them do their job. So, but there is a learning curve, and you know, I think I'm up to it. In fact, I know I'm up to it, or I wouldn't have thrown my hat in for 4 more years. I wasn't going to when I first ran for this office. I kind of promised my wife that 4 would be enough, and but she agreed with me. She sees how gratifying it is to me and how it makes me happy, and I'm not a grump when I get home from work because I've really had a really good day on most of the time. Sometimes you don't have a good day because sometimes, you know, I'm out of line and I'm not perfect. Never have been, never will be. I hope everybody doesn't expect perfection in this job out of any one of the candidates should they get elected. But I welcome all the candidates here tonight and through all the forums we've had so far. Really getting to know all of them. You know, I'm pretty impressed, to be quite honest with you. But I do want the job back. So if you'll re-elect Dan DeYoung, you can go to my website, dandeyyoung.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner DeYoung. Okay, we're going to go to Mark Seligman.
If you elect Mark Seligman, you'll have a critic of county government who will be in county government. I will always seek to benefit the individuals and businesses and not county government. Yes, I go to a lot of meetings. Just so you know, the reason I leave is because what often happens is Mark Seligman is always demeaned by this board saying things, and they don't give a person the opportunity to respond once they have their private time. A good example of
Yes.
is made a statement that good people are leaving the cannabis grow. People wanted to be legal, rights of people who are illegal. And the black market people are thanking Commissioner DeYoung because their business is now thriving. Commissioner DeYoung has done something that I would never do, bought frivolous lawsuits.
Mark, this is
which
Janet.
cost.
Mark, this is Janet Lancaster. I'm sorry. We asked at the beginning not to call other candidates out for stuff. I mean, so keep it about why people want to vote for Mark Seligman, okay? Looks like Mark's screen is frozen. Let's give it a couple seconds here. If we have to, we can come back to him. Mark? All right, so.
If you
Mark, I'll come back to you and give you another minute because there seems to be an internet issue, and we're going to go to Dan Mancuso and give him his 2 minutes.
You know, I don't want people to not vote for Dan. I want people to vote for Dan. My reasons for that is being a rural resident, I understand the sights, the sounds, the smells that come with rural life. Rural residents take a different approach to things. And in the end, a more prosperous rural area will only strengthen our urban areas. And that is where rural residents shop. I'm going to work to strengthen our current economic drivers, including grapes, timber, mining, marijuana, hemp, and tourism. Many folks comment that the county is not very transparent. As a member of the Fourth Estate, I'm here to tell you, I know how to get the truth. I know how to get to the facts. And if you guys have any questions on how to get proper public records requests through, I will help them. Josephine County is an amazing place. And, you know, I will promote our virtues at every opportunity. Currently, the county has an image problem when it comes to the folks in Salem, how they see us. Our reps do advocate, and the general regarding Salem is that we don't want it bad enough. We need to step up and show Salem that the things that are happening here are amazing. We have this awesome farm to table movement out in the Illinois Valley. Downtown Grants Pass is thriving, was thriving, and I'm sure it will be thriving again. And I don't want to harp on the doom and gloom about this COVID. This is going to end, and sooner than later, we're going to be back to the way things used to be. Our new normal might be a little different, but at the end of the day, I just want to know if you're tired of the same old ideas every election. You vote for Dan Mancuso for county commissioner. You're voting for prudent management of county resources, prioritizing public safety and sheriff funding, championing economic development for living wage jobs, effective solutions to address the housing crisis, enhance mental health and addiction services, and lastly, I can't say this enough, improve broadband internet infrastructure. I have fresh ideas and I have the commitment to follow through. I'm endorsed by UFCW Local 555, which is healthcare workers and grocery store people, the people that are deemed essential right now that are on the front line. I'm endorsed by the past and present Cave Junction mayors, Mayor Meadow Martell, Daniel Delgowski, Don Moore, and Rita Dyer. Cave Junction councilors Dan Bosch, Tina Casey Jones, Jean Ann Miles, and Mark Dillinger. Former County Commissioner Keith Eck. Grants Pass School District number 7 board member Brian D. LaGrange, and the Illinois Valley Fire District past Chief Dennis Hoke, who just left us. I'm qualified, I'm competent, and I understand the issues, and I ask that you give me consideration and vote for me on May 19th. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, Mark, we're going to give you another minute. We had some trouble with your internet. You were buffering, so go for it.
Again, and I'm a critic of county government, and I'm a controversial centrist. Is the citizens of Josephine County, the seniors, the homeless, the ones who have advocate for. Now, I'm not an advocate for people that want more county government, want more taxes. We're trying to get through this COVID-19 crisis. This is a very, very serious thing. I am a proponent of cannabis and hemp. Unfortunately, the president administration has regulated it beyond what's necessary. They've hurt this industry. We need this industry. We need tourism to come here because of this industry, and we need investors to flock to Josephine County. They don't flock here because they see how this county kicked the golden goose out of here. And that's really unfortunate because we have a homeless issue. And I've given my opinion of what county commissioners have done to the homeless. My proposal is prosperity, compassion, and no new taxes. However you want to look at that, that's what I'm for. And again, and I'm critical, basically, I want the citizens to work together. When this crisis is over, who knows? Until this crisis is over, I am for a tax holiday for all commercial and private property owners, and I will pursue SRS payments to fund the county, and I will pursue federal money to fund the county. We cannot have tax foreclosures. This is the reality. Drive through Grants Pass right now. It's a ghost town. We don't know how much longer that's going to go on for. So if you want to know more about me, Mark Seligman, 2020, Facebook. Thank you very much for listening. And I want to thank Janet and Firesmart Merlin for putting this together in this unusual time. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mark. Very good. All right. That is the end of our program. I want to thank each of the candidates for participating tonight. Life is precious, time is precious. So we really appreciate it. And also to everybody that dialed in and tuned in. Once I get this recording downloaded, I will upload it to our Firesmart Merlin Facebook page as well as to our YouTube channel. I will send those links to our list. I'll also send it to the candidates, and I will also send a link to the Google Drive. So if the candidates want to download the original recording and then make pieces of it, you can do that. So thank you everybody for the great job tonight, and thank you for the information. Stay well. Bye now. Good night.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Janet.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet.
Welcome. Be well.
Be well.